In the 1960s, a college student sat down to write a term paper. The idea inside it was simple and a little insane. What if one single company could pick up a package tonight, fly it across an entire country, and deliver it by tomorrow morning? Not in a week, not in 3 days, overnight, everywhere. He imagined a system with its own planes, its own trucks, one central hub that every package would pass through, like a clearinghouse for the whole world's cargo. He handed it in. His professor wasn't impressed. The story goes he got a C. The idea, his teacher thought, simply wasn't realistic. Then the young man went to war. 2 tours, over 200 missions. And out there, watching an army move millions of tons of supplies across the planet on a schedule, he became certain of one thing. The world was going to need his impossible idea. He just had to survive long enough to build it.
When he came home, he had what most founders only dream of: a fortune, an inheritance worth millions. He could have lived comfortably forever. Instead, he poured every single cent of it into the impossible idea, and then went looking for more. What he pulled off next was staggering for its time. He convinced investors to hand him one of the largest piles of startup money anyone had ever raised. Tens of millions stacked on top of his own fortune, all bet on a service that didn't yet exist. He bought a fleet of small jets, he built the central hub, and on the very first night of operations, his planes lifted into the dark carrying their first real shipment, a grand total of 186 packages. The machine was real. The dream was finally flying. There was just one problem, the same one that kills almost every bold idea. It was burning through money faster than anyone on Earth could refill it.
And then the timing turned cruel. Just as the company found its wings, the world was hit by an oil shock. Fuel prices didn't creep up, they exploded. And this was a business that lived or died on fuel. Every flight, every night cost more than the last. The losses stacked into the millions. The investors who'd once believed started going quiet, then started backing away. The bank loans came due. His own family turned on him. It looked like he was about to lose not just his money, but theirs. And here's the agonizing part. The idea was working. Packages were moving, customers loved it, demand grew every single day. The fundamentals were screaming that he was right. And none of it mattered. Because being right and staying alive are 2 completely different things. The company was proving the concept of the century and quietly bleeding to death while it did. It all came down to a single weekend. By that point, the company had exactly $5,000 left in the bank. $5,000! And on Monday morning, the fuel companies wanted their money up front, around $24,000, where the planes simply would not fly. A company built entirely on the promise of speed was about to be grounded by an empty tank. So he flew to make one last desperate pitch, a final plea to a giant corporation for a lifeline big enough to save everything. He laid it all out. He told them how close the dream was. And the board said no. Just no. He walked out of that room with nothing, into an airport, holding a ticket home. Home to tell the people who'd believed in him, who'd signed on to his impossible idea, that it was finally, officially over. By every rational measure on Earth, this is where the story ends. It didn't. Standing in that airport, broke and beaten, he made a decision no sane person would make. He didn't get on the flight home. He changed his ticket and flew to Las Vegas. He walked onto a casino floor with the company's final $5,000, sat down at a blackjack table, and began to play. Card after card, hand after hand, the last money of a dying company riding on the turn of a dealer's wrist. And somehow, impossibly, he won. By Monday morning, his executives opened the company account and found $27,000 sitting there that hadn't been there on Friday. Money out of thin air. One of them asked where on earth it came from. He told the truth. The meeting was a bust. They needed money for Monday, so he flew to Vegas and won it. The man was stunned. "You took our last $5,000? How could you do that?" He just shrugged. "What difference does it make? Without the fuel money, we couldn't have flown anyway."
That man was Fred Smith. The company was Federal Express. FedEx! The trucks you watch roll down your street every single day. The planes crossing the sky over your head, the boxes that land on your porch. One of the largest delivery companies that has ever existed was once a single losing hand of blackjack away from never existing at all. But here's the truth the legend leaves out, and it matters. That $27,000 did not save FedEx. Smith said so himself. The company owed millions. Against that mountain of debt, the winnings were, in his words, a drop in the bucket. What that wild night really bought was one more week. And in that week, the real rescue happened. Employees held their paychecks, the loans got renegotiated, and millions in new funding finally came through. The blackjack table wasn't the miracle. It was the omen. Now, let me show you exactly what that nearly dead little company became, because the numbers are staggering.
From that brink, the climb was almost vertical. The company went public in 1978. By 1983, it was pulling in $1 billion a year. Today, Federal Express brings in around $88 billion in revenue annually. It employs more than 500,000 people across 220 countries. It flies nearly 700 aircraft, making it the largest cargo airline on the planet. It moves roughly 17 million packages every single day and fields 500 million tracking requests in that same 24 hours. But it doesn't rule alone. In American delivery, it's locked in a decades-long war with its brown-clad rival, UPS. The two giants neck and neck at the very top, each pulling in well over $50 billion a year just in parcels. Globally, Germany's DHL leads the field by revenue. And now a new titan has stormed the gates, Amazon, which built its own delivery army from almost nothing into billions of packages a year, recently becoming the single biggest carrier in America by volume. The company that nearly died at a card table now sits dead center in a war between giants.
So the next time one of those trucks rolls past you, remember what it almost cost. Remember that the company moving the world's packages was once so broke its founder bet the last $5,000 on a hand of cards. Not because gambling was smart, but because he refused to check out before the story was finished. If we were going to go down, he said, we were going to go down with a fight. He didn't go down. The man who wrote that impossible college paper, the one his professor waved off as unrealistic, spent the next 50 years building the exact thing he was told couldn't exist. He passed away in 2025, worth billions, his name stitched onto planes flying over every continent on Earth. The lesson was never go gamble. It's that the bottom is simply where conviction gets tested, and the ones who win are the ones who refuse to fold while they still have a hand to play. That's the money behind the magic. This is Dollars Decoded. We'll see you in the next one.